What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the different brands and different licenses we can expect to see moving forward with this new association between Sony and Akomi. But before we do this, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you find this information at all useful or informative. It helps me know whether you're enjoying this and whether the information's being well received. So the first point I just want to sort of make here is that Akomi recently retweeted verifying that there's over 100 different licensed brands being brought into VEVE, and I believe this will be rolled out over the coming months and over the coming years. But more specifically in this video, I want to take a look into Sony and why I believe Sony is a part of a much larger play. So be sure to watch the video all the way through as I break down why I believe this is true. So the first thing I just want to look into here is Sony Picture film franchises, because seeing what Sony owns and seeing what they've already released and what they've already created can give us a general feel and a general idea about the type of NFTs we can see being brought into VEVE and into this collectible space. So we've got the Karate Kid, we've got Ghostbusters. Now, we've actually already seen Ghostbusters introduced. So had we made this connection a little earlier and had I known Sony was a partner or owned Ghostbusters, we could have made this association before it was actually released. But that's hindsight. You can't connect the dots looking forwards. You can only connect them looking backwards. So we got Spider-Man, Jumanji, Stuart Little, Men in Black, Zombieland, Underworld, Sony Picture Universe and Marvel characters. And I think, just to touch on this quickly, I do believe Marvel is going to be introduced into VEVE. I do believe it's something that's going to happen. Seeing this association with Sony and Sony owning the rights to Spider-Man and Spider-Man being a part of Marvel, I do believe we could see this being introduced in the future. Do we know when this is going to happen? No, that is all down to speculation. But I do feel with the association between the brands and the different intellectual properties they own, I can see this actually happening. But I think the biggest focus point we should actually look at is, what do Sony do as an entertainment business? Because they are known not just for their films, but they're also known for their associations with music, their associations with video games. Like, I personally would think Sony more in the video game light. That's where I know them for more specifically. So why would this be an important partnership for VEVE? Well, if we look at some of the moves that VEVE are already making, I think we can get a general idea about what's actually happening here. Because if you look at what they've done with the most recent launch of Ultraman and introducing 2D art and sort of my correlation between 2D art and then breaking out into the art market, the more generalized NFT space, not just in the sort of action figure style collectibles that we're sort of accustomed to seeing VEVE introduce, I think it sort of highlights that diversification that VEVE are looking to do, sort of breaking out into these different marketplaces, breaking out into these different sector areas of NFTs. And Sony being a big play here because they have a lot of experience within video games. VEVE put a tweet out recently looking for a new video game developer, highlighting that attention of what they're trying to achieve here, bringing potentially video games and more interactive NFTs into this space. And I just think Sony sort of paves the way for them. It can give them that experience. It gives them that that pathway to success, and giving them the ability to be able to navigate within this emerging market that they're looking to dominate within. And I just think it highlights that sort of umbrella effect I think VEVE are trying to create here, and being the biggest marketplace within the NFT space, providing many different sectors and bringing many different audiences into NFTs. The next thing I sort of want to highlight here is Sony Picture Animation. I touched upon this within my DreamWorks video about how I believe that moving forward, VEVE is going to look to bring a younger demographic and a younger audience into the space as they allow NFTs to become more trending topic within children and within kids, that they grow up with NFTs and that they become more familiar with them, and so the marketplace can mature and evolve. And seeing sort of open season, Surf Up, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, to Smurfs, Goosebumps, I think we could see that association happening with them introducing these more child-friendly NFTs in the form of action figure style NFTs, in the form of maybe potentially more interactive wall arts or interactive elements within their NFTs that are introducing. So I can see this association happening within these different franchises and how Sony Picture Animation could be a part of this. The next thing I sort of want to look into here is sort of motion pictures. VEVE have already sort of touched upon their sort of interactiveness and wanting to create more interactiveness within their NFTs. I think seeing what the DeLorean did and how much the DeLorean sort of produced and demand for the DeLorean, it highlights that demand for interactive NFTs. And seeing this motion pictures, Screen Gems association with Sony, we can see that they own Hey There, It's Yogi Bear, The Man Called Flintstone. But I think the bigger blanket picture here is actually bringing that motion picture, bringing that experience from Screen Gems into the NFT space, into VEVE. And I think it'd be really cool to see like a Flintstone, you know, where they like pick up the car and they run along with it. I think we could see that association there with the animation with Sony, and just a potentially another brand, another stem point about why this is such a big partnership for VEVE. The next thing I sort of want to take a little look into here is the highest grossing films within Sony. The reason I like to do this, by the way, is so we can navigate demand. You know, if a movie produces a lot of money, it sort of correlates towards there being a lot of demand for it, which sort of bleeds into potentially being a lot of collectors, a lot more passionate users, and more adoption within the VEVE application as they introduce these brands. So I think the most exciting one for me is Spider-Man. Spider-Man is by far, in my opinion, the largest franchise that Sony owns in terms of their video games, in terms of their movies. It is a monopoly play. It is a massive franchise. There are plenty of and a lot of different collectors and a lot of different sort of passionate merchandise that have been introduced around Spider-Man, and I just feel like this would be a very interesting introduction into VEVE, and I think we could definitely see that moving forward, and why that connection between Marvel is happening here, because Spider-Man is just that big. You know, I can imagine seeing an interactive NFT where you could see Spider-Man firing spider webs out, or hey, maybe you could even in the augmented reality sort of see him sort of flying around the room with his spider webs. You know, you could see that happening, and that creativeness within this NFTs, and why this partnership is a very big deal. And also seeing Jumanji as well. You know, I could see like the Rock action figure being introduced through the idea of Jumanji, and seeing their new association with this advertising media brand that I'm going to make a video upon on itself, but seeing that association that VEVE have just released, it gives us an idea of what we could see in the pipeline, because that company has a lot of associations with Hollywood, and with Hollywood actors, we could potentially see action figures being brought into this space in the form of our favourite actors and our favourite sort of movie actors like Jumanji, etc. So further validating that connective element between Sony Pictures, VEVE, and their vision to become this big sort of monopoly, this lead within NFTs, and as they begin to sort of pinhead this movement and this new emerging market. But what I want to touch on quickly as well is the video game aspect of it. You know, like I touched on previously, we've seen their diversification by the introduction of Ultraman into the 2D art play. It's no secret, I don't think, that VEVE are going to look to break into different marketplaces to facilitate that demand by looking into these different sectors that they can get involved with, like 2D wall art, potentially video games, more interactive NFTs, action figures, celebrities, as I believe we begin to see this blanket effect happening, this umbrella effect, as they become this sort of household go-to place for NFTs. And I think that's why we're seeing so many brands jump into this. There is definitely a vision that has been presented to these brands. This is not just chance. We are seeing some of the biggest and most influential companies in the world associate themselves with VEVE, and I believe that is because there is a much larger vision at play here. And looking at one of the most recent interviews between the head of licensing, you can see his excitement and why his involvement within this is so critical. But I digress. Let's have a little look into the different video games here. You know, we can see we got Mortal Kombat. We can see all these different games. NBA, NFL. We've seen the association with NFL already. MLB. You know, I'm going to make a video on that as well, looking at the different sports, bringing sports into this space as we allow different users to come into this, allow that mass adoption effect to happen, and bringing these different brands and bringing these different associations into the space. And I just see video games being one of those plays. I just don't see why not. With VEVE looking to bring a video game developer into it, seeing the association with Sony, I think we can only assume that behind the scenes there is development within these more interactive elements within the collectible space that VEVE's looking to bring as they monopolize. And yeah, I'm just going to scroll through and just you know, there is a plethora, a humongous variety of different brands that we could see being brought into this, different interactiveness being brought into this space. I mean, the great thing about NFTs, in my opinion, is it's such a creative space. You are literally limited only by your ability to imagine. And I just see that's what VEVE have done here. They've sold this vision so well about how many different sectors we could break into. And so, yeah, I'm going to cover video games more specifically in a different video. But the next point I just sort of want to make here, or my final point, is that Sony also own Madison Gate Records. Now, I just don't see why they wouldn't introduce music into VEVE. You know, you've got to think about it from a user experience point of view. When you look at music and you associate music in with a different brand or in with a different launch, could you imagine seeing Spider-Man being launched or an Ultra Rare or a Secret Rare being launched and having the Spider-Man music playing in the background, the ability to sort of buy the NFT, to walk into your augmented reality, walk into your collector's room and be able to click on your favorite NFT and have the music play out loud, or even have a record on the wall of the most famous sort of video game music licensed different licensed music and different film music and just clicking on it and seeing the music play out. I just don't see why they wouldn't do it. We're already seeing music being an emerging market for NFTs. VEVE will definitely be aware of this, or Akomi will be aware of this, and I just don't see why you wouldn't branch out into this. And having such a juggernaut within music, within Sony Music, being a partnership now within VEVE publicly, I just don't see why this association won't happen. Why Sony wouldn't want to bring their music into the collector space, why they wouldn't use VEVE's technology and sort of ever evolving understanding of NFTs, and why they wouldn't want to bring as much different varieties and different areas into VEVE for their customers and for their passionate fans. We will see this happen, I believe. I know this is speculation, but there is a much bigger play happening behind the scenes here. And I just see this association's connection between music, between video games, between the wall art they've introduced, between the fact they've introduced this new brand agreement with Hollywood, or with this media buy and their connection with Hollywood. I'm sorry. And you know, this, you can see this spiderweb effect happening, and why these different brands are associating with each other, and why I think Sony is a very critical play in this. And it just highlights, I think, that potential between this stemming point we'll see VEVE do moving into the future, hopefully. So I want to say thank you for watching this video. I'm going to wrap this up here. I hope you've learned something from this. And I hope I've been able to deliver this in a way that makes sense and you're able to gain some value from this. Like I said previously, if you have and you've watched the video all the way through, if you could leave a like or leave a comment, that'd be great. And just and subscribe to the channel. And like I say, drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts and things behind this. What are you speculating? What are you excited to see? And what are your thoughts around the new brands that are being introduced at a rapid pace? So yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.